Welcome in to Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers' list of 2027 free agents, so next offseason's list of free agents, to see which positions that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to target players for the future in the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, just a little bit of a heads up for you guys, we're not going to be going live today. We do have a little bit of stuff going on here at Chat Sports that we need to figure out here this afternoon. So no live show on our normal first live show day here on Monday, but we are hoping to be able to go live tomorrow starting at our normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys are watching this, just keep note, no live show today. We will have another Steelers Talk video come out later this evening, so keep your eye out for that. But in terms of our first live show this week, we are hoping we're going to be able to do that tomorrow. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button and turn on those notifications for all those little channel updates and all that different stuff, and you're notified whenever we go live and whenever we put out new content for free right here on Steelers Talk. So this year, the Steelers have 12 draft picks. That is the most in the National Football League heading into the 2026 NFL Draft. This is something that every Steelers fan knows out there, but obviously not every pick that the Steelers make this year, especially once we get into day 3, is going to be an immediate starter and an instant impact player, right? And I think that a lot of people kind of view the NFL Draft a little bit backwards, or they view the draft as an opportunity to supplement starter talent right away, when usually NFL teams don't view it that way. The way that teams usually view it is they bring in veteran talent to kind of fill out their starting roles in free agency, and then maybe there's a couple holes heading into the draft and you use a couple of your first picks to kind of address some immediate starter needs. But for the most part, the players that you're drafting in the NFL Draft, especially as the draft goes on, is to kind of supplement some of the positions that you project future needs at. So a good way to project those future needs is to take a look at next year's free agents, because those are the players that have a potential to maybe be leaving the organization here coming up in the following offseason, and therefore you might want to be drafting some young talent this year to groom them to take over at those given positions so that the Steelers can potentially let some of those veteran players walk and maybe get some comp pick compensation. We know how much Omar Khan loves his comp picks, so kind of planning out for the future in that way is important. I think that kind of taking a look at that is going to give us a good idea as to what the Steelers' draft strategy is going to look like this year. So let's start here at the top of my list here of draft needs for the future based on the 2027 free agency list for this football team, and I think that they're going to want a future starter at left guard, because the two options currently at the left guard spot, Brock Hoffman and Spencer Anderson, are heading into contract years and are on the final year of their current contracts. So both of them are slated to be free agents in 2027. So the goal here for Omar Khan and Mike McCarthy is to find somebody in the draft who can ideally compete for the starting left guard job this year with both Spence and Brock Hoffman in training camp, and maybe even be a day one starter, but can be expected to become this team's starting left guard by the start of the 2027 NFL campaign. So this will likely require probably a pick within the first 2 days of the NFL Draft, where you're bringing in somebody that's a pretty highly touted prospect coming out of college that has some potential to start right away, but obviously bring in Brock Hoffman for a reason, and if he ends up being your starting left guard and this rookie ends up sitting and developing for a year, you still have that kind of contingency plan as well. And the top guard prospects in the NFL Draft this year that I think that the Steelers are going to be looking at, of course, Venga Iwane from Penn State is one of the top prospects and probably the best true offensive lineman in this class, in my opinion. If he makes it to number 21, I think there's a really good chance the Steelers take him. But if he's off the board before the Steelers pick, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon, really underrated prospect, I think, because Iwane is getting all the attention, and trust me, I understand why. He's an awesome player, but Pregnon's not that far away of a prospect, in my opinion, to Iwane. Steelers could really, really get a steal there with him on day 2. Chase Basantis from Texas A&M, also a very good guard prospect. Kalen Rutledge, somebody that is had a really good Senior Bowl week and is somebody that is consistently being mocked to the Steelers in round 3. And then Jalen Farmer, maybe as like a late round 3, maybe an early round 4 type of guy that the Steelers can consider as well. But I also think that along with that future starter at left guard, I think the Steelers are probably going to be looking for some more depth along the interior of the offensive line as well, because along with Brock Hoffman and Spencer Spencer Anderson, who are kind of your interior offensive line depth right now. Ryan McCollum, your backup center, is also going to be on a one-year deal this year and is expected to hit the market in 2027. So you've got pretty much all of your depth pieces along this interior of the offensive line slated to be free agents in 2027. And, are the Steelers really going to be bringing back all these guys next year? I mean, it's certainly possible. I don't expect these guys to be like, massive investments or anything like that. I certainly think a re-sign situation is definitely plausible for, all, if not just a couple of these players. But I could see the Steelers adding another interior offensive line taken on late day 3, somebody that could be a backup center or a backup guard moving forward for this football team, something like a Spencer Anderson has been as a former 7th-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So keep an eye on that as well with one of the Steelers' 3 7th-round picks that they currently possess. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section, by what round does Pittsburgh need to draft an offensive guard this year? Do you think they have to go guard in round 1? Do you think they need to have one by the end of round 2, by the end of round 3, day 3? Like, how late can the Steelers take a guard this year? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today. Well, I'll tell you about our sponsor. Let me know down there in the comment section when the Steelers need to have their next offensive guard by. All right, so now let's have a little bit of a word here from our sponsor, which is us here at Chat Sports. If you guys want to pick up one of our channel logo t-shirts, you guys can go chatsports.com/Steelers Talk to get yours today. These t-shirts are affordable, guys, just $24.99 on our website right now. And this is a t-shirt that you guys have been asking for literally years at this point, where you guys want to rep the channel and all that different stuff. And this is a great t-shirt to be wearing around the house during our live show days, or while you're watching our watch parties, or if you want to wear it to Latrobe. I can definitely identify you pretty quickly when I take my yearly trip to Latrobe to Steelers training camp. If you're wearing my t-shirt, I'm definitely going to give you some love. So chatsports.com/Steelers Talk. Help support the channel today, guys. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And with that, let's get back into our list here of draft needs based on the 2027 free agency list for the Steelers. And we're going to stick with the offensive line here, where the Steelers could definitely look at a potential future starter at offensive tackle. And honestly, it could be left or right tackle, because you look at the offensive line free agents here, Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones, both slated to be free agents in 2027, especially because, I really doubt that the Steelers are going to pick up Broderick Jones's 5th-year option coming off the injury and coming off, a lackluster start to his NFL career as a former first-round pick. Now, Dylan Cook is more interesting to me because he actually played very well, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers at left tackle last year, but he's been kind of a practice squad dweller throughout his career before that. It's a small sample size. It's definitely possible Dylan Cook has a fall from grace here in 2026. Now, I will point out, I don't think Pittsburgh necessarily needs to address this position. I think that if you want to go into the year with Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones as your 2, options at left tackle, I think that would be perfectly fine for a year, and then you can readdress this position in 2027, whether by re-signing one of these guys, going out and getting a veteran in free agency, or maybe even spending another first-round pick on an offensive tackle in 2027, depending on the quarterback situation looks. However, I could see them take another stab at it here in the first round. We know for a fact that Omar Khan loves trench players. He's only taken trench players with his 3 first-round selections to this point, and 2 of them have been on offensive tackles. So if they don't feel like Dylan Cook or Broderick Jones is their future at this position, it's definitely possible they could go out and get an offensive tackle of some variety. And guys, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a left tackle. It could be a right tackle, because you have to remember Troy Fautanu played left tackle in college, and that's where he really made his bones and cut his teeth at the collegiate level, and he was an amazing left tackle prospect coming out of Washington. I know he really settled in as a nice right tackle for this football team last year, but if absolutely needed and the Steelers feel like the best offensive tackle on the board is a right tackle, they could, in theory, move Fautanu over to the left side. Now, moving over to the defensive side of the ball here, I think that they will be looking for a future starter at one of the safety positions. Because you take a look at the 2027 free agency list at the safety position for Pittsburgh, Jaquan Brisker being brought in this year as a starting player, but he's only on a 1-year deal. He's got some concussion history that's a little bit scary. Then also Darnell Savage and Sebastian Castro, some of your depth along the safety position, is heading to free agency next year as well. So Brisker is being brought in as kind of a stopgap option, at least for now. Obviously, if he plays great, I'm guessing the Steelers will probably re-sign him and try and bring him back next next year in free agency. But there's a reason why the Steelers only brought him in on a 1-year contract. Also, Deshaun Elliott isn't getting any younger. He's 28 years old. He's quickly approaching his 30s, and I'm guessing the Steelers would like to, get a little bit younger at this position here, planning for the future and trying to find somebody to, be a mainstay in this defensive secondary that is getting a little bit older, right? And I expect a safety to probably be taken by the Steelers by the end of day 2. I'm definitely not fully expecting a round 1 pick or anything like that. I mean, I think it's possible they could spend a first-round pick on a Caleb Downs or a Dylan Thieneman if they can get a good deal for them. But obviously, I think wide receiver or guard is probably the main priority in round 1. But you guys can take a look here at the top safety targets here for me. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Caleb Downs, Dylan Thieneman, probably the 2 guys you consider in round 1. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren would be an interesting maybe trade-up option at the end of round 1, or maybe at the early portion of day 2. A.J. Halsey from LSU, big fan of his. Jalen Kilgore is more maybe of a big nickel type of guy out of South Carolina. Jennison Smith is more of a true free safety out of Arizona. Zakee Wheatley out of Penn State is a pretty decent player. Bud Clark, another kind of big nickel type of player, good coverage guy out of TCU. VJ Payne out of Kansas State is an athletic freak. And then if you want to go kind of more day 3, kind of round 6 or 7 type of guy, Lewis Moore from Indiana, really solid player, not the best athlete, but I think pretty decent safety depth would be what Lewis Moore is for me there. But then we get to the linebacker position here, guys, and this is another position where you got multiple players that are heading to free agency next year that are contributors. And you might be looking for a potential future starter at this position because you just don't necessarily know what you're going to get from Patrick Queen this year. He might be somebody for the future as well. If Queenie plays great in Patrick Graham's new defensive scheme, which I think is possible, by the way, I could see the Steelers giving Patrick Queen another contract here, especially if he's like the green dot player. He becomes a very crucial player in this new defensive scheme. Queenie might still have a future here, but, he hasn't played his best football over the last 2 years, and if he has another down year, he's going to be hitting free agency, and I doubt he's back. And then Malik Harrison is another guy that's he's a special teamer. He's a little bit of a thumper on early downs. He's definitely somebody that I definitely expect to probably hit the free agency market next year. So I'd probably expect the Steelers to take some sort of developmental linebacker on day 3, somebody with some tools and, somebody that can be developed, but probably won't see the field all that much here in year 1 because, the Steelers have a bunch of players in this room right now that they want to play, right? Because you got Peyton Wilson, you got Patrick Queen, you got Malik Harrison, you got Cole Holcomb. They like that kind of foursome of guys, to pause to kind of get that rotation going at the inside linebacker position. But bringing in somebody young to develop in year 1, I think is something worthwhile for the black and gold this year, something to keep an eye on day 3. Then another thing to keep an eye on here is some depth at cornerback. Now, I don't think this is as pressing of a need as some people seem to think. I still see people taking, corners in round 1 and round 2 in Steelers mock drafts. After the Jamel Dean signing, I don't think that that's necessarily realistic, but you look at the 2027 free agency list for the Steelers corners, and it's a pretty long list. Now, I do expect Joey Porter Jr. to get a big contract extension at some point before the season, so, maybe take him off the list here, but all the depth here, right? Asante Samuel Jr., Brandon Echols, Corey Trice Jr., Deshaun Jameson, a lot of your depth at this position is slated to hit the free agency market next offseason, so I'm guessing the Steelers would want to kind of, bring in some young depth at this position on the outside, probably with somebody on day 3, somebody that's toolsy, somebody that can be developed, not going to be expected to play right away, but just keep an eye on cornerback here on day 3, as this is a position where the Steelers will have a lot of free agents heading into the 2027 offseason. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What is a draft need for Pittsburgh that is going under the radar right now? What is a position that not a lot of people are talking about, but the Steelers sneakily need to add a player at that position? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section to finish up today's show, and that'll be it for our first Steelers Talk video of the day today. Again, guys, I'm going to get you another video breaking down the latest news and rumors this afternoon, so make sure you guys keep an eye out for that. I greatly appreciate you guys stopping by with us here in the early portion of the day. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.